course, we're seeing reaction on financial markets with the price of oil once again ticking up, with the international benchmark Brent crude futures trading just above $79 a barrel. Well, let's pick the brains of Cornelia Meyer, independent economist and energy analyst. Morning, Cornelia. Lovely to see you. So what do you make of the weekend's developments?
Well, I'm saddened, but I'm not very surprised. We saw this coming on Thursday when we had these strikes back and forth, and then the declaration of the Strait of Hormuz open and closed. So even if the US says the strait is open, if you're a mariner, it's closed because you cannot get insurance. You know, nobody will insure ships going through in this tenuous situation.
So therefore, where do we stand? Of course, we're seeing a spike in the price of energy today, but in terms of what's getting out of the Strait, oil and gas, where are we at?
Well, you know, we have seen a fair amount of oil and gas going out. The thing that I've always argued is that it's nice to see these ships leaving and the ones that have already loaded oil and gas leaving the strait. But if we really want the strait to be restored, we also need to see ships go in. And I cannot see many shippers being willing to take that undue risk. We saw that the Lafan, the main loading station for Saudi crude, has resumed operations, but we saw last 2 weeks very few ships willing to go there.
And how long do you think this will go on for? We seem to be at a stalemate when it comes to talks between the US and Iran.
This is very much Groundhog Day. And, you know, oil markets have been fine so far relatively because we have the two pipelines, one in Saudi, one in the UAE, circumventing the strait. And we lived on borrowed barrels, we lived on inventories. But the inventories are close to tank bottom now. And all the spare capacity that the world has is in OPEC Plus, is on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz. So we really need to see a resolution. Legally, the situation is clear. It's the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Seas, which says international waterways like this need to be one needs to be able to freely pass them without tolls. But who is going to enforce it?
Just very briefly, Cornelia, who's going to blink first, do you think?
That's very hard to say, but I think, you know, they will need to come. Iran economically needs some sort of a resolution, and the US have midterms. So they both need an off-ramp.
OK. We shall talk to you again soon, I'm sure. Cornelia, thanks for your time this morning. Cornelia Meyer there.